This is the first day of this July 2024 7-day session. I'm going to start by reading from the teachings of Yuanwu, Chinese Zen master Yuanwu, who wrote these letters in this book. The book is called Zen Letters, Teachings of Yuanwu. And these were written by him in the 12th century. He lived from 1063 to 1135. Over the years, I've read sections of this book. The last time I've read this section that starts on page 38 was about 5 years ago, so it won't sound familiar to some of you. Oh, before we do that, though, some words, general words about sesshin, and starting with how to listen to Teisho, how to go about doing your practice now during Teisho. For people who are working on a koan, and there are quite a few who are, you want to see if you can maintain the awareness of the koan as you're listening. This becomes less difficult the longer you work on a koan. You can sort of keep it going in the back of your mind. But if you're newer to working on a koan and it seems like it's at odds, the awareness of the koan is at odds with the listening to the teacher, then just forget the koan during Teisho and just listen. It's a tremendous practice, just listening. What many people do, especially earlier in sesshin, is they don't just listen, they think about what is being said, or try to figure out what is being said. This is inadvisable in Zen practice. Or you may have associations. Something that is said makes you think of something or somewhere or sometime, and strictly speaking, you don't want to go there. You want to just listen, absorb, receive. You'll catch yourself from time to time with having gone off, exiting the freeway with thoughts and associations and memories and figuring out and everything else. But just as soon as you do, then you want to go back to just the listening. Or if you're working on a koan, if you're able to keep the awareness of the koan, then even better. But it doesn't matter that much if you can't do both during Teisho. The key thing with Zazen, with Zen practice, is not dwelling in thoughts. That's almost as good as staying with your koan. So don't make a problem out of it if it seems like you can't do both. Just listen as best you can. Come back to the listening when you find yourself having wandered off mentally. The other thing is it is what I always heard from Roshi Kapleau, and he from his teachers, is to not look at the teacher during Teisho. From time to time we hear about someone whose hearing is marginal enough that they say, well, I can hear better if I'm facing the teacher, the speaker. But are you sure? I've always heard that people who are blind have an especially acute hearing. It's all of the sense perception is focused on just the hearing, without the visual objects getting involved. When I keep the eyes open, always in the Zendo, doing Zazen, during Teisho, during chanting, the eyes are open, but not focused on anything. Another general thing about sesshin is, just as a kind of a warning, that the most common problem reported by most people, especially the first half of a 7-day sesshin, there are two things. Pain, physical pain, legs, hips, ankles, feet, back, neck, physical pain, and drowsiness. Those are the two big problems that people most commonly report. And both of them are more troublesome, or really become more obstacle through thoughts, through engaging in thoughts. As sesshin goes on, the thoughts thin out for all of us, no exception. You're sitting 9, 10, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, you're going to have fewer thoughts. And when you have fewer thoughts, the pain, the physical pain, is less of a problem. It probably won't go away entirely, but it's just not the same problem as earlier in sesshin. The mind settles. Thoughts settle. When thoughts settle, the mind relaxes and the body relaxes. They're the same, ultimately. The body is a kind of a release in the body, less contraction, less tension. Most people find that as sesshin goes on, the physical pain is with some exceptions. If you have a sore spot in your sitting, that could get worse, and then you have to problem solve, figure out how you can relieve that. But for just the general pain, physical pain, don't despair if today or tomorrow or day 3 it's getting pretty bad, because usually there's a tipping point in about the middle of sesshin where it goes the other direction, becomes less of a problem. That is, as long as you're not expecting it to. If you're expecting it to, that's an expectation that's getting in the way, and that might very well mess up that trajectory of less pain as you go on. And with regard to pain, it's tempting sometimes to prematurely go to a chair. Now, I would never presume to be able to know for any individual when it's time to go to a chair. It's a real balancing that has to go on. Some pain, some physical pain, can really help concentrate the mind. You probably all know that. If we could somehow each here have our own flotation tank, so there's no gravity at work, everything is zero, reduced pain to zero, the mind would not be very taut. Concentration, it would be real work to concentrate in that situation. So that's one extreme. That's a kind of a silly extreme example. So a little bit of pain can be very useful. And this goes for the stick, too. Think of the stick as acupuncture, because it is. The use of the stick originated in China and then was picked up in Japan. But those two spots, and a spot on each shoulder is along an acupuncture meridian. Surely you all know that the stick is never used as a reprimand. Never. It's just used to give some acupuncture for people who want it. When I was working on my first koan, this use of the stick was so heavy at the Arnold Park Zendo. I learned as Sesshin was soon to begin to put moleskin on each shoulder. Moleskin is this, it's actually quite thin. Some people would put socks in their shoulders near the neck to really reduce the pain. I wanted some pain, but this moleskin kept my shoulders from splitting open, which they would have done in earlier sessions. But the moleskin kept the skin intact, and it worked very well. But the point is that it can be a great aid to concentration to receive the stick. But again, no second guessing on our part. The monitors we're not second guessing anyone. You have to make that decision yourself. Same with going to a chair. You might just before going too quickly to a chair, see if you can get deeper into the practice you're working on. That's what transforms the pain. If you go too soon to a chair, then you don't discover that we have within our own mind, our concentration, we have this amazing power to transform pain, to transcend pain. But then it's of course up to each individual. So both physical pain and drowsiness, a lot of people are plagued by drowsiness. Again, I think it's more common the first half of sesshin. Why? Same reason that pain is more of an obstacle in the first half of sesshin, because of thoughts. And by that I never mean just thoughts, but I mean dwelling in thoughts, clinging to thoughts. That's the problem. Thoughts are going to come whether we want them to or not. It's just a function of a living brain. That there's some at least some low level of thought activity. Without the only way to be completely free of that kind of thought activity is to flatline. So make peace with thoughts coming and going, and just do your best to avoid getting involved with them, mentally involved with them. That's where, of course, the practice comes in that you're working on. The breath practice, the shikantaza, or the koan. We can't just decide, okay, I'm not going to think. But what we can do is find a place to redirect our attention And that's the practice we're working on. So physical pain, drowsiness, this is what goes on in the Zendo a lot, the first half of Sesshin. But it needn't be such an insuperable problem with you marshal the power of concentration on the practice. Another thing you could say is sort of the flavor of Sesshin is being tired. Now, I'm not talking about just the drowsiness of sitting still in the Zendo, but all the time, people who have been to Sesshin know that this is just part of the deal. It's part of the deal of being a parent of a newborn, an infant, a young child. It's just part of the deal. You're tired a lot. If parents the world over can do this, I think it's mostly mothers, if parents can do this, then surely we should be able to accept that we're going to be tired a lot in Sesshin. One other thing that I wish I had heard early in my Sesshin career is that dreams during the night can get wild during Sesshin. And also now I'm not just speaking from my own experience, but from hearing from many students who've had the same. There's something about the way that a lot of sitting a day opens up the channels. And we have all this material that rises to the surface, and it can be ugly. I wish someone had told me that. You can have dreams that are violent, dreams that are grotesque, dreams that are depraved. This is not a reflection of some kind of enduring character you have. It's just garbage from deep in the mind. Good, flush it out. Let it flush out. Don't waste any time analyzing your dreams, trying to figure them out. There's a place for that. That can be something in psychotherapy that may be useful, but for this 1 week, and for many people have only 1 or 2 weeks a year to do Sesshin. Quit the analyzing and figuring out dreams. To do so means you're not present. You're still back in the dreams you had. Just a little bit more about that. There's a lot that bubbles up during Sesshin. This is the wonderful ironies of Sesshin, that the more, or Zazen, not just Sesshin, Zazen, but especially Sesshin, is the more we keep the mind directed to no mind, the more of the mind we see. That is, the more thoughts and memories and so forth become apparent to us. And that's just the natural order of things. Of course, that stuff is rising to the surface. The important thing is not to do anything, think there's anything you need to do with it. My first few sesshins, I thought I was working on Mu, but now looking back on it, I think I was working on Mom more than Mu. It's very, very purging, very liberating to just to have it come up and not do anything with it. Just see it. That's enough. Watch it go by. Let it go. Very valuable process without thinking about our thoughts or memories or anything. All right, now back to Yuanwu. Yuanwu is credited as the author, the main author of the Blue Cliff Record. Blue Cliff Record is the I think for most Zen lineages, it's the second main collection of koans, and it's also I've read highly regarded as a work of literature, aside from Zen, as a work of Chinese literature. Those of us who aren't fluent in Chinese would never be able to appreciate what a sublime work of literature it is, but it sure has a lot about the koans themselves to us who don't know Chinese. So I'm just going to pick up here about the middle third of the book and start off with one of his letters. He says, "The present perception is the truth, but the truth is beyond this perception." That's a lot, just in that first sentence. The present perception, that is hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and thinking. In Buddhist psychology, thinking is kind of the sixth sense, in addition to the usual five. So that seeing, hearing, feeling, and so forth it's not contrary to the truth. How absurd. Why would hearing something be contrary to the truth? It's what is. It's what is. It's not. How could that not be the truth? But then, the second half, but the truth is beyond this perception. And he goes on to elaborate. If you are attached to perception, then this is a perception. It is not arriving at the truth. In other words, it's the experience of just limited to the seeing and hearing and so forth, and it's not beyond that. So how do we get beyond the perception, this ordinary, conventional perception that everyone in the world has the faculties to do? We get beyond it by not clinging to it. That's a tall order, to not cling at all to a perception. Already, just in the last 12 hours, I've seen some deer in the back here. You see from the water table, some deer frolicking, moving about. Okay, that's a perception. So you notice it. There it is. How quickly can you let go of it? Or to put another way, how long are you going to think about it? That's the problem. And draw associations from it and memories from it. When I came in for the round of sitting before Teisho this morning, I saw there was a dead bird on the porch there, again, looking the other direction, looking toward the courtyard from the water table area. There was a dead bird, evidently had crashed into the glass. We do our best to prevent this. We have these decals. For a while we had these glittering objects suspended to even further keep them from doing this. But despite our best efforts, this, I see, still happens. Okay, so you notice the dead bird on its back with its little feet up there. How long are you going to think about that? It's natural to think, okay, someone's going to take it away. And certainly someone will, one of the monitors or someone will take it away, bury it maybe, if they haven't already done so. But in the meantime, okay, dead bird. Moo. For people working on what is it? What is it that's seeing the bird? What is it that's maybe thinking about the bird? Who is it who's thinking and seeing the bird? In other words, to detach from the bird as an object. That's the key thing. So what I was saying in my opening talk, it's all about detaching from objects, not blocking the perception. We don't go around with earplugs and eye masks. So we see and we hear and so forth, but then not lingering in the sound or the sight or the smell and so forth, or the thought. He continues, those who arrive at truth transcend perception, that's letting go of it, moving beyond it, but they manage to use perception without dwelling in perception. A little bit later here, he goes back to this, and so I'll save that for then. When you pass directly through perception and get free of it, it is all the fundamental truth. It's such a, the word truth is such a dead, abstract word. But how do you share your experience in Zen without using words? The great Yuanwu, the Taoist sage, he said, words exist for meaning. Once you understand the meaning, you can throw away the words. But where can I find someone with whom I can speak without words? So here, the translator. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, I forgot to say who the translator was. This is, as usual, it's the Cleary brothers. So they chose to render this, whatever the character, the Chinese character was, render it as truth. Other choices could be it, that, ultimate reality, the ultimate. They all miss it. It. There it is. So let's just go with their choice of truth. The truth. Oh, another one. One of my favorites is the way. The way. The Tao. This, in fact, I'm just going to substitute the way for truth. This way is not being or non-being. It is not speech or silence. Yet it can manifest both being and non-being, both speech and silence. It is forever constant and unchanging. When he says it is not speech or silence, of course he means it's not limited to just speech. It's not limited to just silence. How could sound whether it's words or bird calls or the sound of the fans in the ceiling. How could sound not be the way? It is forever constant and unchanging. That is, this reality that is not limited to speech or silence, not limited to the realm of being or non-being. And then Yuanwu says, therefore Yunmen said, this is quoting one of the greatest of the Chinese master, known in Japanese as Ummon. Therefore Yunmen said, it can't be existent when you speak of it and non-existent when you don't, or existent when you think of it and non-existent when you don't. He continues, you must subtly arrive at this truth and get its great function. Yeah, without function, without realizing the function of it, it's just an abstraction. It's a word, a concept. And you could say that's our assignment in Sesshin, as in Zen practice generally, is to get to how it works, to be able to realize, make real how this way, this Dharma, how it functions. Always let transcendent wisdom appear, whether you are speaking or silent, whatever you are doing. Now there, again, we can get away from some of those abstract words by in terms of practice, making it practical. We could plug in mu. Always let mu appear, whether you are speaking or silent, whatever you are doing. Or who, or what. He goes on, why would you say that it's close at hand when you're in your teacher's presence, let's say the Doksan room, but far away when you are in the countryside? As you go directly forward, that is, as your practice develops, you will encounter it wherever you are. You can say the same about Sesshin as compared to non-Sesshin, outside of Sesshin. How could there be more truth in Sesshin than there is outside Sesshin? If it's reality, if it's the ultimate reality, the way, how could there be any difference about in Sesshin or outside Sesshin? It's just that, lest any of you decide to leave now, it's just that in Sesshin, it's easier to access this truth, this realm of no-mindedness, no thought. Again, the function, the practicality, this is where we are most likely to realize this truth that is beyond all dualities. Make it real. Embody it. He goes on, all the enlightened ones and ancestral teachers take this one true thing very seriously. It is spread among beings of all potentials, high and low, noble and lowly, without any preferences or aversions. It is in all the myriad kinds of action, naturally real, clear, and complete. Every single human being and animal and plant life is equally endowed with this true nature, this essence. He goes on, if you make a special thing out of your views of Buddha Dharma, mystic marvels, then there is a lack. But if you are able to refrain from creating arbitrary views and are clean and naked like this, then it is completely revealed. That's our human affliction, is to make something out of what is essentially nothing. Make something out of these words and concepts. Reify them when there's really they have no substance. We do this reflexively. We, among all species, do this. This made me remember a koan in the Blue Cliff record called Kasan's Beating the Drum. Kasan said, learning by study is called hearing, cutting off learning is called nearness, transcending these two is called real going beyond. So a lot of words, a lot of concepts there. So a monk asked, what is real going beyond? Kasan said, beating the drum. The monk asked again, what is the true teaching of the Buddha? Kasan said, beating the drum. How could beating the drum be outside the truth? He's trying to get the monk off concepts. The monk asked once more, I'm not asking you about this very mind is Buddha, that's another koan, but what is not mind and not Buddha? Kasan said, beating the drum. The monk continued to ask, when an enlightened one comes, how do you treat him? Kasan said, beating the drum. Kasan keeps trying to bring this monk back to this mind of non-discrimination, this mind beyond thought and words, mind that transcends doctrine, principles, learning, dogma, knowing and not knowing, attainment. Another way of another master did try to do the same thing. Whenever he was asked about the Dharma, just turned his back on the questioner. And then Yuanwu continues, just a little more here. If this matter were in words, then it should be definable in a single statement with no further change. Why would there be thousands and thousands of sayings imparted by enlightened ones with no end to them? From this we know that it is not within words, but we need to use words to illustrate this matter. So for people working on, let's say, Mu, let's go back to Mu, there's no answer in words. That's not going to... Here's one answer in words for what good it is. Form is only emptiness, emptiness only form. Form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Okay, where does that get you? It has to be the experience. It has to be what the words are pointing to. Not the finger, but the moon. think this is a good time to stop for the day, and we'll recite the 4 vows.